So this is my new engine. Progress. I was planning on cutting a access door for the fuel pump here, but the more we thought about it, the more we realized, there's a lot to do, and this is just one of those things, and we could always cut another fuel pump access door later, and yeah, we don't want to do it. So we're going to skip that bit, and we've gone on to re-engineering this fuel pump harness to be a little shorter so it can fit in that tank. And how many inches do you estimate?
It was 2.
2, yeah, that's what I was thinking. So here is our wizard solution for the problem of the Miata's stock fuel harness being too big for a CB2. Now, obviously, we removed this hookup for the fuel sender, or for the fuel sender, because we don't need it. We have one, and Clay has very graciously chopped and drilled some holes into this apparatus so that it's shortened.
That'll work.
We'll have a bolt there, and then the difference will be made up by rubber fuel lines, which is what, stock, this is what they did. So it's not completely...
No, they didn't.
Yeah, they did.
What, that?
Yeah, that is totally stock.
We made that work.
We did, but that's how it was when I pulled it out. Oh, yeah.
Oh, wow. I forgot. I wasn't so sure.
Oh, yeah, it's legit.
Okay.
You said this would be hilarious. I'm just seeing it as being we have a few hose clamps on there, just a couple.
A couple,
Couple dozen.
More than one handful.
I will say this, as long as it gives fuel to the engine, I don't care. And
lifeblood.
This is famous last words, because some of these are a little rusty and we're poor.
We're poor.
And
Hey,
I just hope that this and the fuel filter can totally filter all that out.
How do you think it works in third world countries?
Well, see, the cars work and then they don't, and then they fix them and then they work again.
Exactly.
So I guess, no different.
They're not really crazy enough to do this, but I wouldn't be surprised.
They're not crazy enough to do this.
I wouldn't be surprised. Some shade garage about the same size as this, probably stuffed with about the same amount of stuff. Probably exactly
in
the same
Africa
tools that I'm working with.
East Asia somewheres.
Yeah, and they don't have the luxury of going to a welder out of a mill. They have to weld themselves.
Some of them do. Some of them do have, they do have mills over in Africa and India. Anyways, this actually worked really, really well. This here bolt clogging this fuel line.
Tricks to the trade, my friend.
Yeah, exactly. Tricks to the trade. This bolt and this clog this fuel line, they admirably. Of course, why wouldn't it? And finally, everybody and their grandma's dog told me that this fuel pressure regulator was a pile of crap, and Barb told me you gotta throw it away. So, here it is, ladies and gentlemen, for the first time on the internet. I'm throwing it away. I have to unbolt this because we have bears that like to get into our trash because they need a fuel pressure regulator. But I assure you, once I have unstrapped that, this will go inside this garbage can. Here it is, folks. Finally going in the trash. And look,
And
you're finished.
that's that.
That's beautiful. How much is this? Well, this is still solid. So.
That is all still solid.
Yeah.
I didn't touch any of that. I just
so
shortened
this
that
isn't
bit.
going to do a little dance when I try to do a canyon run. That's not the most reassuring look. You look... Can I just say, you look like a well-appointed Mad Max character.
There you go.
James May in Mad Max. Right, so I've figured out how we're going to fix our Cadillac super tank. It's quite simple, really, actually. Man is in demand. We did make a discovery. You see, this, which is the hole from the Miata's tank for the fuel pump, does have a unique way, relatively unique way, of telling which way it's supposed to go. So this is how we mounted it, which means the fuel pump would go into there. That wouldn't be the worst thing in the universe, except for there's like a wall there and just a bunch of different bullshit, so we're not dealing with that. So what my brother is doing is, because this is the way it would be configured, what he's doing is he's going to just drill some new holes in the top of the fuel pump piece so that it is that direction, but will fit over this hole and seal properly. I also found my new gasket kit. Again, I mustn't lose that. Also, this is starting to rust one day after it was welded, so this all needs to be treated within reason. Yeah, it looks so bad. But how this is, like, when we were eyeballing it, we weren't thinking that we thought this was symmetrical, but it is ever so slightly different. These are a little bit toward these screw holes, and these two are not in the same position as these two. If you flip it upside down, they don't line up. So, yeah, if you're, I mean, you know, it's just a classic old measure twice, then cut. But if you're doing this and you plan on doing it this way, be sure to not weld it this way, weld it the other way. Fun. Also, I'm sure you appreciate all of the background noise that in this particular clip.
Just the edge,
We found ourselves a cover!
For the... We're not going to do access port? Okay.
Yeah!
You just sort of
Fuck yeah, let's do it! What a beautiful wolf. What a pretty wolf. Pretty wolf? So, Citra Montag. So,
there we go.
as you can see, the Miata's exhaust comes down the driver's side of the automobile, goes all the way down, and then comes out the passenger side with kind of 5 trillion twists and turns. Clayton is jacking the car up right now. The fuel line comes down the passenger side. On Tomo, it's the opposite. I was talking with a neighbor recently, and I came to the conclusion suddenly that, hey, yeah, having the fuel line and the exhaust run down the same side of the transmission tunnel is probably a really stupid idea. So, what we're going to do... What we're going to do is extract as much of this fuel line as possible and put it in that car, while also extracting as much fuel line as possible from that car. This we're all doing in advance of the oil pan, which is still not here. And also, I had to repaint this because I was impatient the first time. Aside from that, full speed ahead and warp speed. we have cued the music. While he takes that out, I made a discovery that brake lines just hanging out with the fuel lines on this car on a harness that goes all the way back to the back of the tank and or the back wheels. I was worried that it would be the same deal over here, but I don't believe it will be, because even though the brake lines do go down, they go down more than 6 inches away from where we plan to put the exhaust. Plus we have a heat shield apparatus on the exhaust, and we can put more heat shielding items on there. And we won't have fuel line there, so I'm just imagining this here trip of ours up to the car show, which is what we're rushing for, being the maiden voyage, and then I find out I boiled my brake fluid. Fun. And nothing to it. This is why Miatas are so loved, I think. It's because they're so easy to fucking work on, you know. So easy to work on, you know. So we have the fuel lines, which we have just discovered brilliantly, are treated with undercoating stuff, which is good. We would want that. And 2, they're actually more malleable than we thought. We were actually what ignited this was I was thinking of using a rubber hosing, 30 feet of it, because Tomo, and they gave us a quote for $230.
Yeah, fucking ridiculous.
And it was like, no, I'm not gonna, no. I'm lying to make her feel better, but...
So I had the idea, why don't we just take the fuel lines that are in there out and cut what we need that are straight and whatnot, and
yes,
just slice it together with the 5 feet that we did buy.
And this was with us assuming that if you tried bending it, it would break and that a little tiny middle finger would grow out of the brass.
If you bent it like that, yeah.
Well,
but
yeah.
like a little kink like that.
A little bit here, a little bit there. So this, I believe, will be fine for our purposes. If not, the intake line for Tomo is actually the same gauge brass, so it'll work. Nice. Additionally, we have the exhaust, which also has a lot of heat shield items on it, which is very, very, very good. We're going to be removing that cat because it looks nasty, and we're not tweakers, so we're not going to sell it. It comes with the car. There. You want to sell it? That's your problem. And yeah, this is going to be a bit more tricky because this isn't as bendable as, say, fuel line. But yes, we have everything out of that Miata. I could sell it now, even though I'm already trying to sell it. No one bites on it. And if it's still for sale when I finally publish this video, this can be yours for the princely sum of $1,500.
Really?
It's negotiable. Rant. Yes, Tomo-san. Rant time! This is the original fuel filter. This is a 33-year-old fuel filter. It was so old that it was clamped on here from all of the dust over 33 years of use. It wouldn't leave this. And I had to get a screwdriver to jam it out of here. It was completely unclamped and it still freaking wouldn't leave. Wouldn't detach itself from this. And also, I am rather surprised that the car ran so well with its original fuel filter, and I'm glad I'm replacing it. And if you're some Miata enthusiast who says this is a rare fuel filter and it should be preserved and used on another Miata, you could shove it up your... Sit rep. This here's the Miata's exhaust. So, as I've probably said about 5 or 6 times by now, the exhaust needs to come out this end, not this end. The problem is, around the back, it's really engineered to come out the passenger end. There's just brake lines, there's, I think, a Pinard bar. It may not be a Pinard bar, it may be something else, but there's a part of the axle that moves... It's positioned so that it allows the exhaust to come out on that side. And we also looked under there. I probably should take a film under there. We also looked under there and just looking at, how this is, our original plan was have, much like the Miata, have it start coming out the driver's side, then switch over to the passenger side. Behind the rear doors, we don't see a place where that would be even possible. So, the plan now is to take this piece. This is obviously where the manifold is going to connect. Cut here. We're not going to cut here just yet until we get the oil pan back and the engine into the car. But what we are going to do today is cut this and that, this and that. We're literally using the resources we have. Weld those two together to make an S. Because the exhaust will start... The exhaust will start on this side, but under the transmission, it'll transition over onto that side. And then use the rest of the undercarriage facilities on that side and function effectively like normal. This area is where we're going to be piping the exhaust. Far enough away that it doesn't boil the transmission fluid, hopefully. But this is really the only spot where we could find on the drivetrain that is going to have the clearance and the protection from the exhaust and the heat, or, rendered protection, and just be the least amount of headache, even though it's still a headache. This is the only place that we can figure is going to work. Clayton is now removing the exhaust. Why is it him and not me? Well, he insisted. I assure you. What's super funny is that they're almost the same length, actually. This one comes up a little shorter, but not too much.
If it were bent out.
Exactly, yeah. That's so funny. We would cut, we're not going to cut now, but we would cut somewhere along here, and then use these lips here, 1 and 2, these two curves, rather, make an S, and then meet it up with this, and then it would carry on as normal. It's such a Frankenstein exhaust, but I don't care anymore. Alright, this is what we was talking about. Of course, I haven't Googled it, so I'm not sure if this is actually a Panhard rod. If it isn't, I apologize. Whatever it is, it's a suspension axle component that would make it very difficult if I wanted to pipe, let's say, the exhaust out on the driver's side. So it really just, and besides, the tank is going right here, the gas tank. So it needs to come out this way. Back here, and I shimmy my way through there and do unusual camera angles until I get to the right position. So these are all the fuel lines. We would have removed them and then put them on the other side, but part of the design of the car is to have the exhaust on the passenger side and accommodate that with a hump, as well as that heat shield you see there, beyond the rear diff. But there's also, what we would have to keep is brake lines, which are hanging out with the fuel lines. So, it just came to a point of okay, let's have the exhaust come out on the driver's side up front, and then flipperoo, which is what Clayton is doing now. He's chopping bits from the Miata exhaust to make into an S to switch it over. As where we reckon the transmission, there's actually a piece of ground clearance there that we may be able to use. It's kind of a hole. So it's hey, hole, we use hole. So that means most of the exhaust is going to be where it was. Now you may be thinking, oh, you don't need to touch the fuel lines at all then, right? Oh, There's a problem there. While the intake line indicated by that fuel pump, aftermarket fuel pump, that a ex-mechanic of mine did a very poor job of putting in. It's actually supposed to be protected from the highway by a metal plate and all that, which they didn't do. That line is actually big enough to hold fuel and the pressure. It's the same gauge as the Miata's, and it's brass. They're both brass, so I have every reason to believe that it should be fine. The return line, however, is a smaller gauge. So guess what? Even though I'm going to be using this fuel line, it is indeed, I need to take this out anyway, and replace that one line with the Miata's line instead. Your devious plan.
The devious plan. And I have experience doing this with motorbikes. Not with a welder, but I did it before. Is the distance from the exhaust flange on the Miata to the back of the transmission where we want the exhaust pipe to S underneath.
As you can see, he's already cut and fitted that.
Yeah, I didn't weld it yet, but I fit it for visual gratification.
Right. Perfect.
It was about 30 inches. So
yes.
From 30 inches back to this point, the S, that will snake underneath the transmission. This is not perfect.
Yes.
This is just kind of a sketch in my brain.
Yes.
And for you viewers. And it will meet the exhaust pipe from Tomo right here.
Yeah.
So cut this, splice this piece to that end, splice these two together, and then splice this onto Tomo's existing exhaust pipe.
Where it'll just crap out all the exhaust, as it would stock. There we have it. Don't say that! So this is my new engine. It likes to backfire a lot, as you can see. What? I'm just getting over the fact that you believe that I would put a V-twin in here. Like, what do you think I am, French?
I only have two hands. Those are my cylinders. I can't put my feet up here and make it a four-banger.
Well, thank you.
Or, well, it's a three bullet. It's an inline three.
That's still not enough cylinders.